Hey folks, welcome. In this next video, we're going to be looking at two really popular functions in SQL. There's the sum function and the average function. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's just sum function, and the other one, well, it's average. Well, you're right, but they're very useful. We're not just going to look at them as standalone functions. We're also going to look at them in use with a group by, which makes them very effective. But the really cool one is when we use them with analytical functions. That's where we use stuff like over, partition by. And if that sounds like something new, you may want to kind of skip to like halfway through or near the end, because that's the kind of stuff that they always ask you about on the interview. So anyway, and by the way, if I start screaming, it's because my cat's playing with my legs right now. Timing is a bear. I hope you guys like cats. I'm starting not to. Okay, so what? Stop! Okay, I'm sorry. That's not faked. Okay. Um, okay, so in this first line, we've got select from this table. So I'm just going to run this. Okay, I've never done this before while I'm under attack. This is pretty hilarious. So we have the employee field, the department field, and the salary field. Oh, by the way, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you think it's really interesting, you might want to also subscribe. And you know, if you're not going to do it for me, you're doing it for whoever survives me, because I may not survive this video with Griffin trying to rip my feet off. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at down below is we're going to show salary. We're going to use sum to show you what happens, and all we're going to be doing is taking the sum of every salary from the table. Not too useful in and of itself, but this is how you would do it. Okay, so we're going to hit F5, and there we go. So with every salary put together, it's over $6 million. How would you like to be the person that has to pay that every year? I wouldn't. What's the average salary? Well, the average salary, the way we do it, we just use the average function with salary, just like we did with sum. And here's what that looks like. Okay, now you notice that it looks a little nasty. It's 171,000 as the average, but then you've got sort of like this irrational number that goes out. Let's see if we can clean that up. Let me kind of go like that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show this two ways. What I'm going to do here is just do like we did the average salary, but in this one I'm going to cast it as a decimal where it only has two decimal places. The 10 in decimal stands for how many characters overall, and then the 2 is how many get to go to the right of the decimal point. Look at how this cleans it up. And I know the video is not about formatting, but hey, we're here and we're doing this. So anyhow, do you see the difference? This is gobbledygook. This is clear. This is clean. Now, let's also go back here, and I'm going to comment this out now because we don't want to look at this. You know, actually, yeah, let me just get rid of that. Okay. All right. Now, when we run both of these together, so we've got the sum of everything and the average of everything, which means if I was to take this number and divide it by this number, it would tell me how many employees there are, or I could just do a count from the table. But anyway, moving along, this is still not interesting information because, okay, it's the average of everybody in the company, but when has that ever been helpful? Well, never. But at least you know how to use the sum and the average on their own. To make them more useful, what you want to do is do a group by. Okay? And so we already did this. Let me do a group by with the salary. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the salary, but I'm also going to select the department. Now, what's different about this is I'm going to say group by department. So what it's going to do is it's going to show me every department one time, and then it's going to take the sum of every salary from that department. So now, all of a sudden, this is helpful. This is useful. Watch this. Bam. So look at this. And I have it ordered by the second field, which is the salary, or the sum salary, descending. So it's going to show me, so the sales department makes the most money. They're almost up to 4 million. Software is right behind them. It's over 1 million. And then you got legal, and then way down at the bottom you got receptionist. Wow, mailroom makes more money? Well, there's a lot of mail. Okay. Anyway, It's not a real database. Now, if you want to do the average of it by department too, that's 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 practical too. And again, I'm formatting it. I'm formatting it so we don't get some bizarro number. So now we see the averages. So oddly enough, if you go like this, if you were to take the average and the sum of every department, you could actually figure out how many people work in it. Like I could just tell you with software just by doing the math in my head, 5 people work there. But or you could just look at the table or, ask the manager. Anyway, okay, moving on. This is okay, but there's something even cooler. Now, if you've never seen this before, this kind of SQL language, you're going to be so glad you watched. This is what's called an analytical function. Actually, to be specific, this is an analytical function. But by itself, it's just a function. But when you add the over keyword, and whoops, and then this section that has it likes to do that. When you have this part that says partition by, in this example, department, this is where it becomes not just an analytical function, but a window function. Normally, those two words are interchangeable. Analytical function and window function, they mean the same thing. There is a slight difference, maybe not according to the documentation in the SQL specification, but there is a difference in reality or practicality. And what that is this. Let me just run this query. Let me tell you what's going to happen. This query is going to show the employee field, the department field, and the salary field first, and it's going to look just like up top. The first 3 fields are going to look just like these. It may not be in the same order, and it definitely won't be, but it's going to have all 3 of these fields. But wait, there's more. It's also going to do some really cool stuff. Because what it's going to do, first of all, is it's going to break down the sum by department. It's going to partition by department. So you get to use this cool word, partition, It's not just about hard drives and, large bedrooms that you're subletting. Okay. And then what it's going to do is it's going to show the sum for that department, but it's going to have a running total. And then the average for salary is going to be done by department, okay? And it's going to be a running average. Now, this may look strange, but when I explain what's happening, you're going to be like, oh, that's really cool. But that's not the coolest part. The coolest part is they're going to ask you this on an interview. If you want to get a really good SQL job, you may never use this stuff on the job, or you might actually start using it a lot more often than you think, but you have to know how to use it for the interview. Okay? All right, check this out. Let's take a look at advertising first. Notice how it puts all the advertising records together, okay? And then what it does, here's the salary. The salary is not in order. It's all over the place. That's because in each of these cases, it's ordered by employee. See? Order by emp, order by emp. So let me do this. Let's go to advertising. The people's names don't matter. Well, they probably matter to them, but anyway. In the first case, we have 18,000. Well, what's the sum of 18,000? Duh, 18,000. But now if I was to take 18,000 and 32,000, what's the sum of those together? Ba-boom, 50,000. What's the sum of all 3 of these? 77,000. And what's the sum of all 4 of these? 109,000. But wait, when we get to cafeteria, it starts over. We're back to 0, so 31,000, it's 31,000. What's these 2 together? 54,000. What's these 3 together? 82. What's these 4 together? 128. So what it does is it's basically partitioning or making a window here. And the reason why it's called a window function, there might be another reason, but think about it like this. A window, I know it could be round or whatever, but generally the way that people, like if you ask a kid to draw a picture of a building, it's going to be a rectangle building with rectangle windows, because to a kid, that's what it means. Well, think of a small rectangle in a much bigger rectangle. And then this one is another rectangle in a much bigger rectangle. So just that's a simple reason why they call it a window function. They're also called analytical functions, but to say analytical takes a lot longer than to say window. So it just depends how much stuff you got to do during the day. All right, average works the same way. What's the average of just 18,000? 18,000. What's the average of these two? Well, they total 50 divided by 2, 25. And you kind of get the picture. And then when we get to the next department, it starts over. 31, 31. 31 and 23 makes 54. That averages to 27. So see, that's how the analytical or window functions work with just a simple sum or a simple average with over and then partition by, and of course a nice juicy order by. And then you can do really neat things. And these aren't the only two functions that can be used as analytical functions. There's a whole lot more. Just keep looking at my videos and you'll see them. Again, folks, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really love it, please consider subscribing. If you want to help me do my laundry on Friday night, I'm available for that. Or I'll just leave it here and I'll leave the door open. You could do that. Or you could just keep watching my videos. All right, well, listen, have a good one. Don't get arrested and make a lot of money programming. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.